Second half of 3.3 Genshin is approaching very quickly. With it, 2 characters introduced during the Inazuman phase are being rerun during this period. Raiden Shogun is getting her second rerun, alongside Ayato, who is getting his first. Question is, how do both of these characters fare in the current dendro phase? YouTube Frogs, old school type video coming your way, targeting the upcoming rerun characters and my opinions on their general utility for our current gameplay roster. We have the Raiden Shogun, the almighty Electro Archon sporting an on-release revolutionary elemental burst, able to deal massive amounts of damage and refunding the entire party's burst energy. We have Ayato, head of the Yashiro Commission and lover of boba, sporting hydro-oriented versatility built upon his non-energy reliant elemental skill. Now, both of these characters have been known to be exceptionally powerful in their respective team comps. However, these originally have not included anything related to dendro. Coincidentally, both of them have actually shown unique value when tested out with dendro, meaning that their utility as a character is beyond what their design originally suggested, and with proper investment can be great fighters in the dendro battlefield. Alright, to preface this discussion before jumping into characters into a bit more detail, we need to mention practical use. As a standalone unit, Raiden Shogun withstands the test of time. He's a staple sub-DPS at Constellation 0, an on-field menace at Constellation 2, with a one-dimensional 4-piece emblem build, and an excellent fishable weapon for F2P players. Raiden on release and prior to Sumeru was and is a powerhouse. Fast forward to Sumeru, the discovery of an elemental mastery build Raiden that is completely different than her original design, surfaced as an impressively strong Hyperbloom enabler. Investment in Raiden Shogun was and still is an extremely high value character for lots of different builds. Ayato. As a standalone unit, Ayato cruises very easily as lovely Hydro Glue. While he may not impress with his huge numbers, his utility with Hydro Vision, alongside a massively AoE-based design, makes him excellent for both old and new comps alike. Investment in Ayato is less demanding than Raiden Shogun, but you gain lower reward. His consistency and no requirement for energy are what makes him feel easy and effective to use. Now, it's important to mention, as reruns, both of these characters may reduce your pulling power for upcoming new characters that have yet to be released. So remember, pull at your own discretion and really think about what you need or want, if anything. So, what has changed then, since Raiden's original release and first rerun prior to Sumeru? Well, my stats might shock you just a little bit. You may have noticed, contrary to literally the entire design of her kit, I definitely was not in denial that this actually works. Raiden is an excellent, and dare I say it, the best at enabling the Hyperbloom reaction. And it's funny because the next account review video in a month or two, which you'll definitely want to keep your eyes peeled out for, has one of the expert veteran theory crafters educate me on the true art of elemental mastery. Don't forget to sub to the channel and turn on notifications for when that shows up. In this particular Raiden build, there's just one goal: maximize this stat, so that this Hyperbloom damage right here increases as much as possible. We don't care about her recharge, we don't care about her elemental burst, we only care about her elemental skill and only its electro application, not even its damage matters. You could essentially run a level 90 Raiden Shogun and level 1 talents everywhere, and it would perform the same for this build purpose. Why? Because Hyperbloom reaction does not scale on anything except for the activator's level and their elemental mastery. Weapon, any elemental mastery based polearm. I currently use Dragon's Bane, as it is the best because it has the highest elemental mastery. 2 alternatives are Ketane Cross and Moon Piercer, but with less elemental mastery. Artifacts. Just elemental mastery. That's all you really need. 4-piece Gilded is technically best in slot because she's the only Electro in these Hyperbloom team comps, so it's guaranteed to provide plus 230 elemental mastery. If you do decide to run 2-piece, they will grant you 160. It's whatever you've got that's got the best stat distribution. Remember that energy recharge doesn't matter, and crit rate, crit damage doesn't matter. All the intuitive stats that are normally useful for her on on-field DPS Raiden are not used on this build. And honestly, that's what makes this build quite beautiful, if I dare say so myself. With this new build layout, Raiden Shogun becomes a core member of a dendro-related team comp. Minimal team setup of just Hydro, plus Dendro, plus Raiden Shogun. A standard elemental mastery focused build has each Hyperbloom dealing around 30,000 damage. The usual Dendro will be Nahida or a Dendro main character, and the Hydra will be commonly Shincho Yelan or Kokomi. The last slot in this team comp as a flex can be doubling up on Hydro, doubling up on Dendro, or adding Cryo if you want to go Freeze Bloom, Hyper Freeze Bloom, Hyper Fridge. God, I hate this naming system. We want a consistent combo of Hydro and Dendro to continuously summon Dendro cores for Raiden's E to proc and explode periodically. Cryo will not affect this reaction as Cryo and Dendro do not react, so it will be freezing and producing Dendro cores at the same time. Nahida on-field driver plus Xingqiu or Yelan off-field will be the most consistent setup for this, and the rotations will optimally happen first before Raiden's first E, even though long-term that doesn't really matter. Hyperbloom's greatest strength lies in its single target DPS potential, as each one is homing but not AoE damage. Now, what about Ayato? Well, he is a Hydro user, and I didn't mention him for the Hydro users previously when discussing Raiden, because I could discuss him here. Absolutely, Ayato is a perfect on-field driver for dendro-related team comps. In fact, because of his highly consistent Hydro application, he can be solo Hydro in a team with dendro and double electro. The only problem is his elemental skill uptime is 6 seconds with a cooldown of 12 seconds that counts down during this, which is effectively a 6-second cooldown, but that's about 50% of the duration. Aha, but that's where a unique, but not actually that unique build for Ayato steps in. Enter Thundering Fury 4-piece Ayato. With this particular setup and your standard DPS weapon, Ayato's elemental skill can reach 100% uptime, and subsequently, this uptime assists the rest of the team to not have that many energy issues because he is on field almost all the time, generating energy alongside the rest of the team. Don't worry though, Ayato's build is standard. No funky elemental mastery business. He will rock the usual DPS as he's not responsible for the big reaction damage that's still Raiden Shogun. He's just the catalyst for the massive reaction soup that occurs because of his Hydro application, which allows him to reduce the cooldown of his elemental skill. And the great thing about this, and why I feel that Ayato's versatility is so strong despite not too many people talking about him, is that these builds don't change his core playstyle. With Raiden Shogun running all that elemental mastery, the whole other part of our kit is dead. Look at these stats. Ayato here is still able to run very nice crit rate and crit damage, outputting his own DPS, but also enabling the whole team to go crazy. His naturally short cooldown on his elemental skill that can technically be reduced to 0 means that his general playstyle feels really nice. And that's something that I think is underrated by a lot of players. The idea that a character, when you swap to them, they are able to do a majority of their job without you worrying about their energy levels or enemy position feels good. They're able to make do wherever. Now, the counterpoint is obviously Ayato's personal strength. He's not going to be dishing out impressively powerful numbers. By design, he can't enable the full power of common teams like National, like other characters can. Tartag. So if you need a powerhouse like that, then sure, Ayato's not your cup of tea. And even though I don't personally use Ayato that much, I wanted to give him a spotlight in video form that enables more of his strengths to shine alongside a very well-known popular character, Raiden Shogun. So, if you were worried about their utility because we're in a hotbed of dendro reactions, both Raiden and Ayato have specific strengths that enable them to shine in this Sumerian phase brighter than what they could do compared to other characters. And with each patch length back to 6 weeks instead of 5 weeks, we have more time to finish out builds that maybe have been put off for a while. Maybe you can have an enlightening experience with these more unique builds like I have. Thanks for watching, good luck to those that are summoning, and as always, we'll see you next time. Take care.